Can content help you to play professional baseball? In this episode, we're talking with Max Freeze, who's one of the newest members of the Chili Peppers, a glow-in-the-dark cosmic baseball league. We talked to him about creating content as a college athlete, how more student athletes can create content while playing, and how his content led him to some really cool opportunities in his baseball career. Let's go check out this episode with Max Freeze.
And before we jump into this episode with Max Freeze, I want to tell you about our sponsor for this episode. It is Arete Shades, the sunglass brand that I started with my 12-year-old son, Colton, who is behind the camera right now, my co-host in this podcast. And right now, you can get a free pair of Arete Shades just by dropping a comment with the code word Cosmic, because Max is playing Cosmic Baseball for the Chili Peppers. So the coolest, most unique, most out of this world comment using the word Cosmic is going to win a free pair of Arete Shades. Drop a comment right now. Let's jump into this episode with Max Freeze.
What are the Chili Peppers, and how did you get asked to play for them?
So the Tri-City Chili Peppers started out as a collegiate summer league team that played in the Coastal Plains League. And it was a group of college kids that would come in, from different colleges, play summer ball with them. And they're starting to expand and grow into a professional team as well. So last season, during their CPL season, they actually had college kids play called Cosmic Baseball. And what that was blacklight baseball, where you had guys in reactive uniforms, reactive bats. I mean, the balls were reactive. It was one of the craziest things I've ever seen, right? And they did that with some kids who played college ball for them, but they weren't in that professional level yet. And this year, they're actually touring. So I'm going to be a part of the Chili Peppers, where we play some games at home in Colonial Heights, Virginia at Shepherd Stadium, but we're also going to be going on tour, playing in cities like Worcester, Massachusetts. We're going to be going to Nashville. We're playing in Indianapolis. And so they're starting their own version of baseball that's going to be interactive with fans, right? It's going to be fun. It's going to be different. And it's unlike anything I've ever seen before. And I was actually got an email from Jason Dean, who's also the MC for them. He wears a lot of hats in their organization. He's a great dude. And Austin Schultz, if you've seen his content, he got on board to play Cosmic Baseball, and him and Jason were talking. He's like, Austin, what other content creators, what other influencers, guys who'd be a great fit for this? And Austin was like, I've talked to Max before. He's a great dude. I love his stuff. And so big shout out to Austin. He got me connected with Jason. Jason shot me an email. I had a call with them, and we just kind of built a relationship throughout the months. And then I officially signed on to play with them back a couple months ago.
That's so cool. So is this is the first official season where it's kind of doing the professional side, touring, so you're season one, you're on the ground level of this.
And that's what's exciting. We've been able to collaborate a lot on what ideas we might have, or what they want to see from the players, and what they want to see at each city we go to. And it's been really, really awesome and very collaborative, I would say, because, hey, this is the first season for it, right? As exciting as it is, you don't think about everything that goes into it until you start planning it, right? And I think that's what's been really cool is, being almost at that ground zero level of it, where they're like, hey, man, we need your help, your creative side. We need Austin's creative side to help really build this thing and give the fans what they want and make it successful. So it's a challenge, but it's definitely really, really exciting with it.
That is super exciting. We're going to jump into a lot of kind of your content creation journey, how that intersected with your baseball playing career. But just while we're sticking on this, I find this super fascinating is, where does content play as far as this league goes, right? Obviously you see it with the Bananas and the Party Animals and what they're doing there. Is content a paramount play to get fans to the game, to keep it interactive? How at least you've been approached about how those are going to play together?
Yeah, first off, we really, appreciate the things the Bananas and the Party Animals have done. They do a great job. We want to do something similar, making baseball fun, but it's our own thing, right? We're building something new that people can interact with. And content's a big part of that, because we want to make sure we're engaging those fans. That's what the Bananas and Party Animals do a great job of, right? They bridge that gap between fan and player. And I think that's what's really going to help grow the game of baseball, is bridging that gap and interacting with fans and building relationships between those. And content plays a huge side of that, right? It helps get people knowing about Cosmic Baseball. I mean, the amount of people have reached out to me what is this? How can I get tickets? This is the craziest thing I've ever seen, has been awesome. And I think that's what really helps, humanize us a little bit. You might see us as these content creators or influencers, but I always talk to Austin, I just me and Austin are friends. We bro down all the time. It's just Austin. That's who I see right now. And then he does all this awesome stuff, but it makes you humanize the players, right? And realize hey, They're just normal dudes. They're playing baseball because they love it. It's their passion. They're having fun with it. And I think the content side, especially with us, is going to be a big part of that because we're going to get to show the behind the scenes of what it's like to get ready for the cosmic baseball and what it looks like from our perspective. And that's something they want to push, right? They want to grow the Chili Peppers brand, but they also want the players to grow their own personal brand, right? Because when you're out on that field, especially when it's black light, it's hard to see your face. Like that's one thing he's talking about. Can't see. So what are you doing outside of that to build your personality and build your brand? Because ultimately it's about the Chili Peppers organization, right? We're blessed enough to be playing for this team and this organization, but they want us to get the most out of it for us as well to help. It's just a mutualistic relationship then, right? We help build their brand. They help build ours by giving this platform, and it's a blessing. And I think that's something they really, really want to push, especially in this inaugural season of it is like, hey, like, be you, like put yourself out there. Like no content is bad content when you're promoting this. And I think that's a really exciting part of it too, that I'm excited to be a part of.
I love that they're going all in on that because again, the bigger the Max brand gets, the more eyeballs are going to get on, the pregame videos and what you're doing. And then that turns into ticket sales. And the more people that, go to the games, the more people are going to follow. Like it should work together. Right. And I'm like that. I'm seeing that. I want to switch gears. We're recording this the Monday after opening weekend in college baseball. Maybe a sore subject, but you're now a year removed from your last days playing college ball. What was this weekend like kind of watching all the guys start their season, and kind of reflecting on your own career?
Yeah, I think first off, I love watching college baseball. Like when I was even playing, my school, Earlham, they don't start their season until this weekend, but this Division I startup, I have a lot of friends I've played summer ball with and guys that I know that I got to see open up. And it's exciting for me. It's cool to see guys, that I played with growing up or guys I played with in college summer ball, like succeeding. And it makes me excited because I know MLB is right around the corner. I know we're going to get started soon. And I don't miss playing in 20-degree weather and double headers in February for sure. But I definitely miss that aspect of, being and playing with guys that I consider I'm still best friends with a lot of guys I play with. And like, I obviously love my college career. I have no regrets there. The only thing I miss is just the team and my friends, I would say. Like that goes by a little quick. I left it all out there with my playing career, I would say, but there's something awesome about going and playing doubleheader in 20-degree weather with your best friends and you're all in it together. Like there's something that bonds you that way. And it's cool to see that at every level, Division I, Division II, Division III, whatever you play. You see it at the highest level with guys you play for like LSU and all that stuff. Like they really are just a family. And I think that's what's special about baseball, specifically college baseball. You play so many games in a short amount of time. Like that is your family. You spend more time with them than you do your mom, dad, girlfriend, whatever. Right. And I think that's what makes it so cool.
Yeah, I think as a dad now in his 40s, it's really hard to replicate being with 20, 30 of your best friends, whether it's football, baseball, whatever it was, and the grind that you go through and the practices and the hell weeks and all the things. It's hard to replace that. And so it's really cool. And it's cool that you get to kind of extend that now, playing some cosmic ball for the Chili Peppers.
100%. It's a blessing.
Let's look back at your career. One of your most viewed videos is one of my favorites. Your swing progression. Take us through your playing process from high school to college.
Oh, man. So when I think back to when I finally got serious about baseball and I'm like, I want to play this for as long as possible, whether, college, whatever that might be. I look back and that was really when I started taking video of my swing. So it's kind of, a little bit nostalgic for me where I'm like, hey, like this video from my freshman year of high school hitting, like that's when I bought into baseball. Right. And I look from just a swing perspective from when I was there to where I am now. And I think that's like what's so awesome about the journey of baseball, right? Like I was 14, 15 years old. I'm 24 now. That was 10 years ago. And I just feel like it went so fast. So going into high school, I got serious about playing baseball. I like to see just like my body transformation as well. Like I was a pretty undersized kid, I was lanky, tall, hadn't really grown in my body yet, all that stuff. But a message that I always bought into was I had a hitting coach since I was like 9 or 10 years old. And he was like, hey, he's like, we're going to focus on the mechanics now because you're going to grow into your body later, right? Like you're going to develop naturally that way by getting in the weight room. He's like, but if you buy into the mechanics now and build your swing now, you're going to be that much further ahead than guys that just got by developing sooner with their bodies and stuff like that. And, it's cool to see, like I had a good swing in high school and I felt like that was my strongest part was hitting. That's what got me to college. And then seeing how that even progresses and changes throughout your college career as well. I like to look at it like, hey, my swing looks different, but there's so many things that I see that are the same. And I think that's what's cool about baseball, because you can be your own player, right? Like you can be yourself. Everybody's different in the game of baseball. Everyone brings different stuff to the table. And just by looking at like my high school swing to my college swing, I'm like, yeah, like I've always been a hitter, right? I've always enjoyed it and I've always been good at it. But just seeing how much I developed from high school through, especially through college, I mean, you'd be amazed by how much you develop just from playing college baseball. I like to think I developed more my last year at college than I did like 4 years in high school. Like there was just so much I learned and so much I applied. And it's different for some guys, right? Like some guys, it happens earlier. Some guys, they're late bloomers. And I think looking back, that's what my high school and college career was I developed each and every year. I like wanted to improve each and every year. And just looking back on even just something as simple as what my swing looked like, it's just a microcosm of, all the work I put in to get to that point in my college career. And I love that video too. So I'm glad you appreciate it, Colt, because that was a cool one for me to make too.
What was the biggest adjustment moving from high school to college ball?
The biggest adjustment is a lot. I mean, everyone says it, right? Time management. I was fortunate because I always worked at baseball outside of just practice hours, right? Like I was the guy working out on my own, practicing on my own. And when you go to college, yeah, there's a lot of that, but it's a different level. The guys who, maybe they were playing a bunch of other sports, or maybe not that playing other sports is a bad thing, but they weren't used to just baseball 24/7, right? And there's good and bad parts to that, but I would say the biggest adjustment is just buying into that, right? Because I loved working out, I loved hitting, I loved getting better. Some guys, it's kind of more learned where it's like, man, like this can feel like a grind sometimes. And I'm not going to lie, there's times where it does feel like a grind, you're exhausted. You got classes to worry about. But one thing I really appreciate about college baseball from high school is the freedom you had, especially with classes and free time and getting extra work around your schedule. Like we had practice 3 to 5 p.m. Maybe there's, an hour before classes at 10 that you could go get extra swings. And I think our coaches did a great job of making that available to us, because there's that freedom aspect of it as well. You're taking ownership over your career and how you are as a player. And that just goes beyond baseball, right? Like you're taking ownership of your life and making the right decisions for you. And I think that's what was great about college baseball for me, is because I was excited about that and that freedom to get to practice and play as much as I wanted. Like it was a blessing. And I'm really thankful to have great coaches that allowed me to do that and poured into me, because it was a blessing in my 5 years though, for sure.
When did you start creating content, and what inspired you to start?
So I started creating content, I think in December of 2022. So I'm about 2 years over doing it. And I kind of started doing it because I love baseball and I was passionate about it. But I also was thinking about, hey, like I played Division III baseball. Like I played at a small school, not a lot of people have heard of, but I'm like looking around. I'm like, I think I'm a good player. I play some guys that are absolute studs. And I'm like, I may not be Mike Trout or like Aaron Judge or Bryce Harper, but like I can have a platform and I can make a difference. I felt like and that's what really started me to buy into this content thing, is just making an impact. It was fun. First and foremost, I enjoyed doing it. Within like the first week of just posting consistently, I had a video hit like 500,000 views, and I'm like, crap, like maybe I'm on something here, and this could be really, really cool. So I started just pouring into it, doing it, while going to school, while playing baseball and that stuff, and just kind of sharing my journey and my story, right? Like I consider myself a pretty good baseball player, but I didn't, get drafted. I didn't go to a Power 5 D1 school, but I feel like my journey helped inspire a lot of kids too, to realize that like, hey, it's not like that D1 or bust mentality. It's just being the best version of yourself, right? And I think that's what my platform is really about, is just building into yourself, whether you're playing at a D3 school, an NAI school, a JUCO, a D1, like it's all a blessing. Like playing baseball at any level, there's studs at every level. It's fun at every level, but ultimately there's not a lot of people who get to do it. So no matter what, because of that, it's a blessing. And I think that's what really got me started with content, was just wanting to have that voice. Coaching was a passion of mine. I do coaching videos on the side and stuff like that. And I think that's all kind of what I'm about. I'm just passionate about baseball. I know the benefits it has to not only your baseball career, but in life as well. All the life lessons, which we've all heard about. And I think it's just an awesome game. I love it so much. I think I'm so passionate about it. And that's what really just drove me to do it. I'm like, I could be a voice, and I don't have to be Bryce Harper and get drafted when I'm 16, right? Like you could be your own person and have an impact in this game, which has been really, really a blessing for me.
Such a cool story and such a great way to get back. And the other side of it is just, there's no one way. There's no one route. And it doesn't mean that you don't love the game or work as hard as just as anybody else. And it's a cool opportunity that guys like you now have to show that, right? That maybe you didn't see that 10 years ago, or even when you were getting, recruited and going through that process, like there weren't guys doing that. And I think it's so cool, guys like you, like Bryson, we've had on the show before, like just showing this path and showing the work and showing the love of the game. And I think it's really, really smart what you guys are up to.
Thank you.
When it comes to content, especially in the content game today, it's all about the idea. It's all about the hook. It's all about, how are we gonna get somebody that's gonna stop somebody from scrolling? So we always love to talk about how, process, like, how do you think of these things? Like, do you got a big spreadsheet somewhere? Or are you just like, hey, I just need to film something today? Is it just off the cuff? Like, how do you think about what content you're going to create and where the ideas come from?
Yeah, I know like a lot of people are different. My process is I'm very type A. Like I'm always write stuff down, check it off. I write in my calendar each day, ideas I might have or like what I want to get done today. So for me, it comes a lot from just brainstorming and thinking about it. I think the biggest thing too with content is being yourself. Like we hear that all the time. People think it's cliche, but it's true, right? If I go out and try to be someone I'm not, especially on my page, they're going to be like, what? This isn't Max. Like, this isn't what he's about. This isn't what he does. And I think that's why I've had, success so far, because I'm just me. Like, that's the biggest thing my friends tell me. Like, they would give me crap for posting TikToks. We're like, you know what, man? Like, it is you. Like, you're not out there trying to be someone you're not. And we appreciate that. So a lot of my ideas come from that, seeing trends and stuff like that I think are funny. I can put my own spin on. I've always been a pretty, creative guy. I feel like from that mindset, I've always, thought creatively. Like I love brainstorming. I love doing all that, and just ideas come to me, and I literally call it like my murder board. I have them all written out, spread out. Like I'll have like 20 pages of stuff where I'm like, this might be a good idea, and then I'm like, okay, maybe this idea isn't that good. And I just kind of, if there's certain things, like I think it's kind of anything like in baseball, right? Like you go into a slump maybe, and like your sweet as it feels good. Like the same thing with content. You go into times where you're like, man, I'm not feeling creative, but I still got to show up and do what I do best and do what I enjoy doing. It's the same thing with baseball, right? Like maybe I'm not hitting the best, but I still love it. So I'm going to show up and do the best job I can. And I think that's what's helped me is just consistency with it. I feel like I was consistent in my career with the work I put in, but also with the content, and just, I think I've posted every day just about since I've started and stuff like that. And I think that's been a huge part of it. It's just that consistency. So it's a blessing. I love what I do. It's crazy to think about sometimes, but I'm fortunate to be where I am. And I think that consistency and that buying into it has really, really been beneficial for me.
So I'm not going to let you get past what you said it really, really quickly. I think you call it a murder board. All the stuff. Like, so talk to me about this. It's just like a giant whiteboard with all these ideas you're gonna murder. Like, what's this all about?
Exactly. So like I have an iPad. I took notes on it when I was in college and stuff. So it's literally just like one of those notes apps. It's like, this is idea, circle it, check it off when I film it and edit it, cross it out. Maybe I'm like, okay, there could be a part 2 for this if it's a series or something like that. So like I did my swing progression. That was an idea. And I'm like, okay, like, what clips do I need? So I'm like, all right, clip from freshman, sophomore, and I'm writing it out. And then I'm like, okay, now I got to go back on my phone and find these clips from 2017. How am I going to do? And like, it's just a lot of like, I'm organized with it. It's controlled chaos, I would like to say, is what it is, because I'm one of those guys that's like, I could just be sitting watching a basketball game and like, I'm like, oh, I got an idea. So I pull out my phone, type it in that board real quick and have it for later and stuff like that. Because like, that's what I think is fun about what I'm doing. Like my brain's always on for it, but I think it's also beneficial because like, I never know, like a good idea, like that swing progression idea came to me and it did really well. And I'm like, this is cool because like, it's a video that was cool for me to make because I got to go back and like all the nostalgia of like high school, all that stuff. But also the fact that it just kind of came to me. Like, I'm like, oh, I've seen like a guy be like, oh, this is what I looked like. And how'd you look? I get questions like in DMs and all that stuff too. Like, hey, like, what was it like when you were in high school? And it just kind of gets my brain turning where it's like, oh, like this could be a video idea where I just incorporate a swing and stuff like that, type it out. And then, like I said, I'm type A. So I check it off, circle it if it did well and all that stuff. So it's kind of, it's controlled chaos is what I like to think. I think a lot of guys would say that like ideas just come to you and you're like, all right, let's write that down before we forget it, because my brain's always going when it comes to that kind of stuff.
That's so cool.
It looks like a lot of your videos are shot in a cool facility. What's it like having a place like that, both to train and to create content?
Oh, it's a blessing. So I've been hitting there probably longer than you've been alive, Colt. Like that's been the place I grew up. My hitting coach owns that facility that I've gone to forever. And he's one of the most important people to me. I mean, he's one of my closest guys I go to when it comes to baseball and life and all that stuff. I've been blessed to have him as a hitting coach because he gets it. He understands the game. He's very, very smart, but he's just so gracious with allowing me to train there while also film videos. He'll give me some crap. He's like, "Oh, you coming here to make some dances or something like that?" Like, rib me up a little bit, but it's all in good fun. And he's just very gracious with his time. Like, he lets me hit there. When college kids come back that he worked with from break, like there's some kids who play like Division I that come in for winter break, like we'll get together, we'll hit there. He lets us use the space. And I'm fortunate to do some hitting lessons out of there as well. So kind of like get back from my standpoint to kind of do that, be that hitting coach for other people. And it's awesome. Like, I look forward every day to going there and hit. I think it's just, especially I'm in Cincinnati, it's like 25 degrees outside and there's like 4 inches of snow on the ground. And I'm like, okay, I can go inside, hit off the machine and not have to worry about getting frostbite. Like that's a blessing for me and something that I look forward to still each and every day, especially when it comes to content. Like, it's so easy to go there and film great videos and, have great content because you have that space. And that's been an integral part for me and something I'm really blessed to have.
How were you able to balance being a student, an athlete, and being a content creator? What helped you to stay focused and stay consistent with all 3 of these?
That's a great question. I think, again, like I'm very type A, right? So I would sit down each morning, I would either read a devotional or read my Bible or something like that every morning. And then I go into what I want to get done for that day. So I write it out like, hey, I need to get this done for class. I have this for baseball. And then I have this for content. I kind of would rank it like we all hear school comes first, right? So school would come first, baseball stuff second, content would be last, because those first 2 things, content can't happen unless I take care of those first 2 things, right? And I always thought of content as kind of like fun for me. And I think that's what's made me so grateful for the life I have, because I enjoy what I do. And it was the same thing at school. Like there was, long nights where it's like, crap, like I got to edit this video real quick, or like, man, I don't have any ideas. My brain's pooped because I went to class all day and practice, whatever, but I still want to put something quality out there. And I think at the same time, though, it taught me how to balance my time even better than I thought, because being a college student's already a lot of time management. Being a college baseball player is a lot of time management. And then adding content creation on top of that is just another beast. But I think what helped me a lot was just staying consistent with my routine, my plan. And also realizing like, hey, like if I'm feeling burnt out or need to slow things down a little bit, I'm one of those guys who's always go, go, go. Something I got to get better at is just stepping back and maybe taking more time for myself to kind of relax and kind of disconnect from that kind of stuff. And I think that's something I need to work on for sure. But in college, like it was great. If I was burnt out, I'd text my buddies, hey, let's get something to eat. Like just get my mind off of this, whether it was baseball, school, whatever. And I think that's what helped me out a lot too, was having that balance.
Yeah, got to have balance, because there's, again, as a college student and you're an athlete and you're trying to build something on the side, and you also probably want a little bit of a social life to like fit in there too. But I think you've done a really good job. I mean, just even, I know now not being in school, but like you're posting like consistently, like every day, and you have to figure out some processes, some systems to stay balanced, which is really important. I want to talk about like, I think we're starting to see guys, especially at the college level, to really adopt this, like the creating the content while being an athlete. But why don't you think more athletes, especially let's talk baseball players, that's kind of the niche we're in, why aren't more creating content and building their brand? Do you think there's still a mental block? Is it a fear of looking silly? Is it do they see it as a distraction, or do they just not understand the value? I know that's a loaded question, but like, I'm sure you get athletes asking you questions about it, but also just why aren't more people picking this up and seeing the opportunity?
No, I think it's a great question. I mean, everyone I feel like has a different reason for maybe they want to do it. Maybe someone does feel distracted by it because they're already overwhelmed with school and baseball. Maybe, and I feel like if I would venture to say, a lot of it is kind of like that feeling of being looked at funny, or like, how people view you because of it. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like when I started doing it, like your friends will give you a little crap. And I played in a small conference, like in a Division III school. And like, I was a 5-year starter, so everybody knew me, and they're like, this guy makes TikToks now. So like I would hear it every time we played, right? Like every time I struck out, they're like, post that on TikTok, all that stuff. I'm like, for me, I look at it like it was just fun, right? Like I do what I do. I love posting my videos. Like if they want to make fun of, I always told them, like, if it's funny, you can say whatever you want to me. Like if you come up with something creative that's funny, I can always get behind that, because I just think that's part of it, right? And I'm fortunately never been one of those people who's like scared to be myself, and I know that's not the way for some people, unfortunately. And I wish people would bring that more out of them, especially in the game of baseball, because I feel like a lot of times people hear the things, it kind of goes back to the whole, like, you shouldn't bat flip, you shouldn't celebrate, like, act like you've been there before. And I feel like that kind of parallels the whole content thing, right? Because it's a new era thing where people don't see it as how to integrate with baseball to build a platform or build a brand. And I don't know if many people just don't understand that, or again, like, they don't have the time for it. It overwhelms them. But I think a majority comes from that fear of like looking silly, right? Or maybe not feeling comfortable with it. And it's different for everyone, but I would say I think there should be more of it, right? I think it's great for the game. I love seeing different guys' personalities, and you don't have to have 1 million followers to make an impact. I feel like I think because you're yourself and be authentic. So that's what I think a lot of it comes from.
How did you get comfortable or be confident being yourself? Where did that confidence come from?
I think a lot of it just comes into me putting in a lot of work into myself, not only on the field for baseball, but also like mentally and practicing. I practice meditation. I have a routine. I'm deep in my faith. And I think that stuff helps center me and helps me accept who I am and really love that. Just as hard as I work on the physical stuff for baseball in my life, I still work just as hard on the mental stuff, taking that time to relax and center myself and be the best version of myself. I think it's been really big for me. I was also forced to be raised by 2 awesome parents that just loved me no matter what, no matter how I was, what I was doing. Like, I was stupid sometimes, just like every other kid is, but they still loved me unconditionally. And I think that really just taught me that, taught me my self-worth, taught me, how to treat other people as well, like to love people unconditionally and kind of be that kind of person my parents were for me. That just made me really comfortable with myself. I have great friends as well. I think a lot of it comes from the people around me. I mean, we hear a lot about, surround yourself with people who lift you up. And I think I'm very blessed to have people like that in my life who do lift me up. And I think that's what makes me so comfortable with who I am, because I know no matter what, maybe I post a video and my friends are like, this is awesome. And then there's one person who's like, this is stupid, but I'm like, I don't care, because I have 90 tell me it's awesome and stuff like that, which makes me feel a lot more confident in myself, I would say.
Good answer.
What are some cool opportunities that have come because of the videos and the content?
Oh, man. I mean, first off, I was fortunate to play in the Savannah Bananas organization over the summer for a team called the Visitors. So I got asked to play in that because they saw my social media and stuff like that and saw I was a good player. The opportunity of the Chili Peppers. I mean, I don't know if that would have come to fruition if I never bought into this content and stuff like that and building my own personal brand. I think the most rewarding thing for me and opportunities that come from this is just hearing from people that are like, hey, like, you taught me to love baseball, or like, hey, I love how you go about your business. I think that's what's most rewarding for me. Or I do a Bible verse series. Kids are like, this Bible verse spoke to me. It made me change my perspective. Like, that's what really like makes me feel whole and complete, because that's what it's about, right? Like, baseball is unfortunately going to end for everyone one day, but if I can have that impact on people through this platform of baseball, like, that's just, it just humbles me like no other. Like, it's a really big blessing. But, and again, none of these opportunities, like, I don't know if I'd still even be playing baseball, right? If it wasn't for me putting myself out there on social media and having this opportunity, which is so awesome. And I'm so excited for. And I wouldn't be working with awesome brands like Baseball Lifestyle, Bruce Bolt. Like, I wouldn't have these connections with those companies as well to meet more awesome people. And I think it's opened a lot of doors for me just because, like you said, I'm being consistent with it. I don't know where my life would be if I didn't start doing it, right? But I think the biggest thing comes from just hearing from, kids your age, Colt, or kids that are even in college now, like, oh, like, I love what you do. You spread a good message. Like, it makes an impact on me. I think that's kind of what I set out to do in the first place, right? Like, I just wanted to show kids like, hey, like, you don't have to be Aaron Judge, right, to be a good baseball player, and you make the most of it. So I think that's what's been the most rewarding part for me, for sure.
Let's go through your whole filming process. How do you plan, film, and edit your videos? What cameras, mics, software, apps are you using?
Oh, man. So that's what's funny about this is I've never really been like a tech guy. Like, I've always been very like.
That's like a good thing, though. Like, that makes it a little more easy for everyone else.
When I think if you would have told me to think about like my tech stuff I owned before I was doing content, I'm like, all right, I got my phone, my laptop, and my PlayStation, right? That's like the only things I know. But I think now it's like I've done a lot of trial by fire. I'm pretty much self-taught with the content, the editing, and all that stuff. And I think my process, it took a while to figure out, right? I've been doing it for 2 years, but it started out with just me doing everything on my phone, right? Filming on my phone, editing on my phone, especially when I was in school, right? That was convenient. Maybe have a clip from a game I can pull, download, edit on my phone. Now I've upgraded to actually having like a nice camera, right? Like I bought a Sony camera to kind of invest back into myself. Gotten better at editing. I use CapCut, which is helpful because I have the premium version. You can edit on your phone, and if I have something on my laptop, I can edit that together. So my process is usually I'll film a lot. Like if I'm at the facility where I usually film, I might film, 3, 4, 5 videos that I just don't edit yet. And I get home throughout the week, plug them into my computer, edit up on CapCut, add my captions, all that stuff, and then download it to my phone to post on TikTok and stuff like that. But that has definitely been the trial by fire for me, is learning like editing and stuff like that. And I think it does help me that I was like tech stupid, because I'm doing it the most simple way possible, right? Like that's the way I try to do it. And I think that's what's fun. It's a challenge of it too. Like I'm learning. It's cool to like put a video together that you put a lot of time and effort, and you're like, this turned out pretty cool compared to, like, I look at videos I posted when I first started posting. I'm like, this thing kind of looks like crap compared to like what I'm doing now, right? And it's kind of cool to see. So it's definitely been a lot of learning for me, but I know everyone has their different process. But for me, like I said, like I'm type A, plan it out. I'll go film it, I always say film more than you think you need, because the last thing you want to do is get home, get ready to edit. You're like, crap, I said this wrong, and now I look stupid. The whole video is ruined. You know what I mean? So that's been the biggest learning thing for me. It's just that tech side of it. It's been exciting and fun, but I definitely got a lot out of it. It's definitely, a challenge each and every day, but I'm getting better at it and I'm enjoying it. So
I think that's super inspirational to a lot of the guys out there who are like, I don't know any. I'm like, cool, get use your phone, use CapCut, right? Then upgrade, get a cool camera, get CapCut. Do it all from your phone, on your way to your next class, like just rip it up. And so
that's exactly what I did until I was fortunate enough to like, have more time to pour into it and stuff like that. Like I know a lot of Austin told me a lot about e-films. He just uses his phone, right? So you don't need a lot to get started. It's cool to have. Obviously, it makes it a little bit easier, especially having a camera that holds so much more footage than my phone might.
Right.
Doesn't mean you can't start, right? That's what I tell guys. How do I even start doing this? I'm like, I know you got a phone because you're texting me on it right now. Like, if you want to get started, that's all you need, right? I think that's cool.
Just turn it on while you're hitting some BP. Have a buddy hold the phone, like whatever you got to do, man. So I think that's one piece of advice. I think is keep it simple, right? You don't need $10,000 worth of gear. Like use the phone, use the free apps on your phone. But what other advice do you have, maybe to high school guys, college guys that want to start creating content? They want to start building a brand, but they also don't want it to be a distraction to the coach, to the team. Like we joked about, with Bryson, he was just like, I can't go up to my coach and be like, hey, coach, I gotta set up my tripod real fast before we do this drill, right? Like we can't do that either. So what advice do you have to these guys who maybe want to start, getting in the content game and building their brand online?
Yeah, I think, like I said, authenticity is key. Like, really just be yourself. Like, because people can see that, right? Like, if you go out there and try to be someone you're not, people just find a way to see right through that. And it's not worth it to you, right? People want to see you for you. So authenticity, I would say, is key. I've been fortunate to have, coaches and friends that like support this and stuff like that. I know not everyone's as fortunate, but like, if you go about it in a positive way and just be yourself, and again, like I said earlier, like if you're taking care of school and baseball, there's no reason you can't do content, on top of that, right? As long as those top two things are staying intact. And I think that's what helped me is I never really thought of what I was doing as a distraction. And my coaches never saw it that way. They saw it as like, cool, like Max is putting Earlham College's name out there. Like we're a small school. Like my coach still tells me they get DMs, kids want to visit. And like, I saw you on Max Freeze's TikTok. I learned about your school from Max Freeze and all that stuff. And I think that's what meant a lot to me as well. But also like what was such a blessing to me is my coaches were fostering that, right? They weren't like, shut up and play baseball, kid. Like, don't be yourself, don't promote yourself and stuff like that. So the best advice I could give is just be yourself. But also if you take care of, your school, your baseball, and you're a good teammate, a good person, like the right people are going to be around you who foster that growth and want you to push that content and spread that message, because ultimately we're all in the game of baseball too. And because we love it, we're passionate about it. And we also want to push it to the next generation and get back. Right. And if you have a platform to do that, I think the right coaches and the right teammates are going to want to push that and foster that growth for you. And I was fortunate enough to have that. And I hope those guys out there getting started also have that as well.
I think that was one of the best answers we've gotten to that question, especially on the side of like, hey, if we're doing this the right way and we're putting out the right message, it's, it helps in the recruiting process. You're going to get like, it's coaches should foster it in a way that doesn't take away from what you're trying to achieve,
Right.
on the D side.
Like it'd be different. I'm out there like shotgun and beers with my college race stuff. So I like here. Yeah, totally different. Like, but if you go about it the right way, and I think that's a big thing too. Like my coaches, they were like, Max is doing a good thing. Like my coach lets me know I'm so proud of like what you've accomplished, man. He's one of those people I can still talk to whenever I need it. I'm blessed to have that, and I wish more people did. But again, like I think it's just a blessing to have those people around you that build in and buy into that, because there's so much awesome opportunities out there, like you said, from just recruiting standpoint, a promotion standpoint. Like obviously, like when I'm playing baseball and guys are giving me crap for posting TikToks from the other dugout, like that's also something you got to deal with. I'm sorry to say, that's just how people are. That's just how guys are, and it's all in good fun, I would say. But again, like I said, if you have these people around you that want to foster that growth and really believe in you, like that's ultimately what makes it happen and what makes it work.
Love it, man. Cole put together some fun rapid fire questions, so I'm gonna let him take it away and see what you got.
Love it, Cole. Let's hear it, man.
What's going to be the top walk-up song of 2025?
For me, I'm going All of the Lights by Kanye West, but I feel like a lot of people are going to use that Tweaker song by LiAngelo Ball about Jello.
wow.
Like that's a pimp song walking up, I feel like, a little bit.
Well, every 12-year-old travel tournament we've been to in the last like month, everyone's got that as a walk-up song. So.
Saying, like, if you want to look for one that's going to be out there all the time, that's the one I'm going with, and I think it's going to be out there.
What's your favorite walk-up song that you've played during your college career?
The Show Goes On by Lupe Fiasco was my favorite. So it's a cool story behind it too. So my freshman year, I had it and I was playing, and my season got canceled because of COVID. That was the COVID year. So I only got to hear it for like 4 games. And then I used it again for my 5th year, my last year in college. And it was kind of like full circle moment. Like I'm still playing baseball. The show goes on. All that stuff was my last season of college that I used that for. So that one's always going to have a special place in my heart. I think I'm retiring it from my college career. Like as long as I keep playing, like I think that's not going to make a comeback because of how it ended. But I think it's probably my favorite one that I've used for sure.
What's your favorite pregame meal?
I don't like to eat too heavy before. When it was summer ball, dude, and I was like out there in the hot sun, like eating Chipotle before a game was not the best idea, even though it tasted so good. So I usually Jersey Mike's was a godsend for me in summer ball. I would say that would be my go-to. I would say just a club some. I don't like tomatoes, but something like that to fill you up, but not make you feel like you want to take a nap. So,
what's the coolest college stadium you've played at?
I got to play at University of Kentucky's field after they redid it with the batting cages and all that stuff for our conference tournament. So Transylvania University, they're also in Lexington, Kentucky, and they hosted the tournament because they're the number 1 seed. So my sophomore year, we got to play there for the conference tournament, and that place was insane. Like we got to hit inside and all the indoor facilities and stuff like that. And Austin Schultz, of course, played there at Kentucky, and I was like, dude, like, we had to practice in that facility. I'm like, you're spoiled to like go to that every single day and like practice and stuff. So that would probably be the coolest.
That's awesome.
What's your favorite video you've created?
The swing progression one was one of my favorite ones. I think also just the ones where, excuse me, I think like the ones you said, like the swing progression where it's talking about my journey and all that stuff, because it shows, I feel like how far I've come. It kind of makes me feel better about myself and good about myself with all the work I've put in. I had this one video, my first video that went like mega viral. This one will always have a special place in my heart. I was in a game, I think it was our first game of the year, and I first started posting content and I hit a home run. And I go back and watch the video right before this kid said, "Strikeout TikTok boy." And then the pitch came in and I hit a home run like right after it. And I didn't know that. So I posted that one and I'm like, that's probably my favorite one. Cause I'm like, what are the like, shout out to that kid, because like that kind of was my first video that went like viral. So like, who knows if I'd even be TikTok boy now if he crap right back in my junior year of college. So I appreciate that guy.
That's amazing. Best story.
Best piece of advice you've gotten from a coach or mentor that you'll never forget?
I think we hear it a lot, but it's that whole 1% better each day mentality. And I think there's a caveat to that as well, though. It's being 1% better at yourself, like being the best version of yourself. I think one of my favorite quotes is comparison is the thief of joy. And if you constantly look around at like the people around you, whether it be teammates or competition, all that stuff, and constantly compare yourself to them, it just takes away from the work you're putting into yourself, right? So if I'm a better person, player, brother, son, whatever it might be today than I was yesterday, that's a win for me. Whether it's on the field or off the field, I can't compare myself to. It's not fair for me to compare myself to Bryce Harper or Mike Trout or these crazy guys. Or when I was in high school, I fell into that trap a lot because I was an undersized kid. I was 15 years old, and I had kids that I played with that were committing to D1 schools and all that stuff. And I'm like, well, I work hard too. Like, why am I not getting that? Why am I not there yet? Like, am I not doing it the right way? But ultimately, like, looking back on it, I did everything the right way. Like, I'd go back and do my journey the exact same. I was so blessed with the career and the life I had in college and high school. But I think it took a while to realize, like, hey, I'm being the best version of myself. Also because all that other stuff's out of my control. And I think that's what the best advice I could give is be the best version of you. Be the best version of yourself. You don't need to compare yourself to others to be a good baseball player, be a good human.
Don't even know if you knew that, but Arete, so the sunglasses we sent over, that's literally the meaning of the word Arete, is being the best version of yourself, moment by moment, day by day. We say play by play, but we
love that.
Such believers in that mentality is that you can only be the best version of you. I can't be, the best Bax. I can't be the best Bryce, but I can be the best Greg. He can be the best Colt. And that's all we can be, right? And if we gave it our all and we're getting better, we're going to be in a much better place.
100%. I love that.
What's your goals for this season with the Chili Peppers?
My goals for the Chili Peppers would be to get to the point where I say cosmic baseball and people have this idea of how crazy and how awesome it is, right? Like with the social media platform and stuff we have, like, and being able to make it one of those things where people are so excited for us to go on tour next year as well. I mean, we've been fortunate. We've been selling out a lot of places and we haven't even played a game yet, right? We've never gone on tour. So I think my goal is that after the season's done, we do this thing bigger and better than ever the next year and build off the success we have. Because like I said, it's like the inaugural season, right? It's the first time we're touring. So I want to make sure it's most fun for the fans as possible, first and foremost, that they love it. And at the end of the season, they're like, can't wait for next year. They can't wait to see how we top it next year in the places and the cities we go. I think we play 20 games, I want to say, this year. I'm excited to see how many games and how many more cities we get to go to in 2026. Wow, that's crazy. 2026 is crazy exciting.
Yes, we're 2025 already. That's wild. Well, hopefully you make it to Florida soon. We'll make sure that we get out there, man. This is so cool. We'll make sure we link up the Chili Peppers, the schedule, all that stuff. Anywhere else we can point people to check out your stuff and what you're working on?
Yeah, so if you follow me on Instagram, it's at MaxFreeze3 on Instagram. On TikTok, it's max.freeze. Funny story real quick. When you used to look, before I started posting content, if you looked up Max Freeze, it would bring up Max Fried from the Atlanta Braves.
Yep.
Is like obviously really close in name. But now if you look up Max Freeze TikTok, I come up before Max Fried, which is kind of cool for me. but that's where you can find me. I'm trying to get into YouTube a little bit. You can find me on YouTube and my link on Instagram and stuff like that. It's Max Freeze 3. I'm going to start getting some longer form content once we get in season. I can show a lot of behind the scenes and stuff like that. So that's kind of like that next goal for me, I would say, too, with the Chili Peppers, is starting that YouTube and really showing people what Cosmic is about.
Well, we are excited for you. Hopefully we'll have you back for a round 2 as you're talking about season 2 with the Chili Peppers and all the cool stuff you're doing. Thanks so much for your time, man. This was super fun.
Awesome, guys. I really appreciate you guys having me.